Кто оценивал, мы знакомы. Говорю с ним, начали список. Все.
Every minute of every day. No breaks.
All right, let's get started. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for being here today.
Hello.
Good to see you all. I'm Christiane. I'm the director here. It's great to welcome you all to America House. We have a fantastic guest visiting us today. Rania Anderson is the foremost expert on career advancement of businesswomen in developing and emerging economies. She's a global speaker and executive coach. And as the founder of The Way Women Work, a global platform, she speaks to, advises, coaches, trains, and writes for women and men at companies around the world. Some of the companies include P&G, GE, Barclays, PwC, Bank of America, T-Systems, and OI. Rania is the 2015 recipient of the Women Who Make a Difference Award from the prestigious International Women's Forum. And Rania is here with us today to talk about starting and growing your business. So please join me in welcoming Rania Anderson.
Thank you for making time in your busy days to spend a couple
Unmute your
of...
mic, please.
It's
Unmute.
Oh, it's unmute.
Thank you.
Sorry. How's that? All right. Thank you for being with me this afternoon for a couple of hours. What's more important about what you should know about me today is thank you, Christina, for the great introduction, and to the embassy for inviting me to come here. But I think what's more relevant for today is that I'm an entrepreneur and I'm an angel investor. I'm the founder of an angel investor fund of now 50 women. We've been in existence for 10 years, and we're 50 women who invest in women-led businesses. I'm also a former banker. So the presentation that I've put together for you today comes from my experience in working with a lot of different kinds of businesses, lending money to them so that they would start, and as an entrepreneur myself and as an angel investor. But I'm not really the expert. You're the expert about how to do business in Ukraine. I'm here to pose some questions that maybe will prompt you to think about new things or more things or things in a different way than you've been thinking about. And I think that we will have a productive session if we have an exchange, right? I'm going to go through some things, but what would be really helpful to you is for you to ask me some questions or ask each other some questions that we can help each other out. Sounds good? Okay. I believe that sometimes it's more important to know the questions than the answers, the right questions. So when we ask the right questions, I believe we can come to the good answers. And so I've structured today's presentation as a series of questions. And the first question is for you. How many of you own your own business or have a business today? How many want to have a business? Okay. Fabulous. So businesses are all around us, and you have some people here doing it, some people wanting to do it. All of you do business, go to businesses, so we know a lot already. Here's the first question you should ask yourself. Do you want to succeed? You know, it seems like a crazy question, like, of course, why wouldn't I? But some people actually, they say they want to succeed, but somehow deep down, they're not really sure. I was watching one time a reality show in the United States that selects a singer, you know, it's like a voice competition. And the woman had the most amazing voice ever. And every time they interviewed her after a performance, she said, I can't imagine that I would win. And so do you think she did?
No.
No. But she couldn't actually imagine that she could win. So if you can't actually imagine that your business would be successful and huge or small the way you want it to be, then, you know, that's like, you know, you can't even get past go. Are you willing to fail? I was just having lunch with the U.S. ambassador and 15 very successful businesswomen and politicians here from Ukraine. And the ambassador asked me the question, how many businesses in the United States, what percentage fail? And I said 75%, which is true. People look up to Silicon Valley for a lot of reasons. Silicon Valley in California, kind of as the Mecca or, you know, the famous city of entrepreneurship. What I notice the most about people in Silicon Valley is that they love failure. Love it. When you meet them, they say, hi, let me tell you, I did this business, it didn't work. I did this business, it didn't work. I did this business, it didn't work. And it's okay. What do people think about failure here in Ukraine? What do they think about it? You like it? No? Yes?
No.
Not so much, right? Not so much. Most of the countries I work in, people don't really like failure. So it's really hard to start a business if you don't like failure, because the chances are the way you think about it is not going to be the way that you actually do it. Yulia, we have a handout, right? So I'm going to ask a series of questions. I've summarized some of those questions, not all of them, for you just in a piece of paper so that you don't have to take a million notes. You could take some notes on that paper or just keep it for later. But that way, if you're the kind of person who likes to keep track of something, you'll have some good reminders. I've taken 3 airplanes, trains, cars, walked to come and spend the afternoon with you. And the embassy has spent some money to bring me here. What I'm asking for in return from you is that you will do something with the information from today. That you will take some action, that you won't just say, well, that was interesting, or she's stupid, that was terrible. That you'll actually do something. It doesn't have to be something I say. Maybe a colleague will say something, a friend will say something. Maybe you've been thinking about something. So, in return for being here for 2 hours, for your investment, you're going to take an action. Okay? Here we go. Here's a question I have for you. There was research done to determine of the factors that make businesses work, which is the most important? The idea, the team, the business model or financial model, the funding, or the timing, meaning the business was started at a time that there was an opportunity for that business.
Execution.
Execution? What does anyone else have an idea? What they think is the most important from those 5 things? Team. Okay. What else? Anybody?
I guess synthesis of all of them.
All of them, okay? At the end of the presentation, I'm going to tell you what this particular research found out. So we'll see. Keep it in mind. Okay, the idea. The core, right, of the business is the idea. What is it I want to do or create or bring about? I would tell you that if you can't describe your idea, by the time you light a match and the flame reaches your finger and burns your hand, you can't get money, support, customers, anything. Okay? So somehow you have to take your idea and be able to tell it to me or somebody else that fast. Right? Sometimes we call it an elevator pitch. I like the match idea better because it's kind of like, oh my God, right? Okay? So think about your idea and distilling it to that simply. And what makes for a great idea? It's not something that you think is a great idea, but it's something that you think other people will think is a great idea, right? The customers. Every once in a while there's a genius like Steve Jobs, right? They come up with something that we don't even know we want. But most of us mere mortals, we have to be thinking about what do people want. I'm going to give a few examples and to illustrate some different kinds of ideas. I'm in particular choosing today to give some examples of companies that were started by women because not because I don't think men should start more companies, I do, and especially in this kind of environment, in the Ukraine, you have so many opportunities to create jobs and start companies, but because only 25% of businesses in Ukraine are started by women, and I want to encourage more women to start businesses. So, you know, around the world, women breastfeed, and breast pumps are very loud. And it's hard because everybody knows you're pumping. So a company that creates a business that makes a quieter breast pump. It's something women want, right? So it's that idea. I met with two entrepreneurs who noticed that in slums, you know, very, very, very poor neighborhoods, you could buy vegetables. So it's taking a group of people that often people say, well, those are poor people, they don't have money, and creating something for them. I was told when I was in Odessa earlier this week that Ukrainians like to buy things when they travel abroad, products when they're traveling abroad. Is that true?
Yes.
If that's true, then if I'm starting a business in Ukraine, I might think more about starting a service business than a product business. I might think about that because you can't buy your service overseas, right? Or I might start thinking about a business for people who don't have money to travel overseas, right? So who's the customer and why would they want my product is more important than what's my idea because I'm so smart and I have this idea. Okay? One of the most famous accelerators in the world is the Y Combinator. And they did an experiment one time. They found like really amazing entrepreneurs. And they thought, we're going to bring these entrepreneurs without any ideas and see if they can be successful. We're not going to give them any ideas. And actually, it didn't really work. that the experiment didn't really work. Okay? So we have this idea. We have to know who is it for, and is there a big enough market for it? And do people care enough about it? The way I talk about it is it a headache or is it a migraine? Right? If it's a headache, it's a really small problem, and I might not switch from this product to that product. But if I have a migraine, I'm going to do everything I can to get rid of that migraine, right? So is your idea something that people care that much about? Are they in that much pain? Okay? Who are these people that you're going to sell the product to? You know, a lot of entrepreneurs come to me, they say, I have this great idea. Who are you going to sell it to? Well, there's a lot of demand for this. Who are these people? If you don't know who they are and how to find them, you're not ready to do that business, right? If you don't know where these people are that you want to come into your place of business or use your product, you still have some work to do. And I want you to think about, why will they absolutely love your product? Not kind of like it, but go crazy about it. And if you don't know why they're going to go crazy about your product, keep thinking you're not ready yet. All right. So then there's these other people that already have your same idea, right? I think there's no new, everybody is thinking about the same thing. Sometimes when entrepreneurs go to VC funds, they don't want to tell them their idea. They want them to sign a non-disclosure agreement, an NDA, because they're so protective about their product. You know, if you have an idea, probably 10 other people have the same idea, right? So the question is, why is your idea better than the other solutions in the marketplace or what other people are doing? What distinguishes it from that? And you've got to know the competitors' weak points and their strengths. We were just driving over here, and on one street, as we were going down the street, there was one coffee shop, couple of shops, coffee shop, coffee shop, coffee shop, beauty salon, beauty salon, beauty salon, beauty salon, coffee shop, just one block. And I asked the person where I live, who owns these women? Okay, do we need 5 coffee shops on this street? I mean, I don't know, maybe we do. But if we don't, why, if I'm going to open that coffee shop, what's different about my coffee shop than the others, and why are people going to come to mine? But by the way, most businesses don't fail because of competition, right? Other companies don't kill them. They actually kill themselves, right? So I say most companies die by suicide, not murder. So we want to know about our competitors, but if we're really good, we don't really care. There's plenty of opportunity in the marketplace. They will do their thing and we will do ours. So more on the same, you know, what is your advantage? And a key question that I find is, how hard would it be for people to switch from your product, from the product they're currently using to yours, or from that service to your service? I'll use an example from my career, which is in financial services and banking, my early career. To open an account, a bank account in the United States, takes many steps. How about here in Ukraine? Easy or hard? Easy. In the US, not easy. Lots of papers, lots of things to do. So if you want to start a new financial institution, it's really hard to get people to move because it's too much work, right? They'd rather stick with their crappy bank than do all the work to come to your new bank. And I'm sure there are things like that here. How sticky is it? All right, so some people said it was the team, right? So the team is very critical to the success of the business, and the first part of the team is you. And knowing why, what's your motivation? Why do you want to do this business? Is it because you just want to make money? Is it you really love whatever it is you're going to do? Is it because you're trying to propel the economy and create jobs? Is it because you think there's a need in the marketplace for something? It doesn't really matter what's your motivation, but if you don't know what it is and you can really hold on to that, when times get really tough, and they will, you have nothing to fuel you anymore. You can't go back to the place that you came from. People often ask me if I'm a feminist or why I do the work that I do with women. And the reason I took all the money out of my business to work with women is because I believe that the global economy can only thrive if we activate women economically to equally as men. Not that men are better than women or women are better than men, but I know, because the data tells me, that if we engage women equally in the global economy, we'll generate 12 trillion additional dollars. So for me, it's all about economics. It's actually not about women. And that's my motivation. So I always come back to that place when I'm tired or I don't know what I'm doing or a door shuts in my face. You know, that's belief. Okay. Why are you the person who should do this idea? Are you an expert in security, and so you're going to make a new secure online product? Maybe. Are you a connector? Do you know lots of the customers that you want to reach, and that's why you're the right person to do it? What skills do you have and what do you don't? One of the businesses that I recently invested in was a woman who noticed that there were, because she was one of them, a whole group of women who can't find the kind of underwear that they want. I'm talking about breasts and underwear today. I'm not sure why. It's kind of weird, but okay. So these women were in the military, or they were policemen, or they were firemen, or they were athletes, or they were gay, lesbian. And all the underwears on the market are made for women, you know, they're very small and it doesn't work if you're in a military or athlete or have a uniform. And she realized that. And she didn't know very much about making underwear, but she knew a lot about the customer. So she came with that idea, but then she was missing some skills, which is how to make clothing. And she had to find that other part of the team, right? So when you think about your business idea, you're going to have some skills and not the other. Okay, somebody said execution, right? It's the key. I'm not giving away the answer, but it's key. Okay, so I have an idea. I know what my customers are. Now, what are the things that I need to do to make this business work? If I can't like write down each of those things and know what they are, I'm gonna be in trouble. One of the things that I notice often with really young people, and there's a lot of young people here, when you have ideas and you bring together a team and you know who your customers are, oftentimes you might never have worked somewhere else, right? You graduated from university and you have this idea, right? So you're going to do this startup, which is great. But it's kind of like you don't really know the operational parts of running a business because you've never worked in a business. And then that's like a downfall. So think about, are there some older people that could help you understand and break down those pieces? Okay? Who are the people that you need to join you on the team? We find that women often try to just run businesses by themselves because they think it's easier, or they're afraid to take the risk, or they're worried about how they're going to pay people. In the United States, 94% of women-owned businesses only have one person working for them. 94%. People like put up the US like, oh, entrepreneurship, blah, blah, blah. That's really like freelance. That's not really like a business, right? So part of what your country needs right now is job creation, right? So if you're going to have an idea, like go for it, go big, and think about how could you expand this idea with bringing on some more people that have the skills that you need and doing it in a slightly bigger way or a huge way. So we have an idea, we have the customers, we know what we need to do, we have some people, and now we know, do I have support? Do the people at home that are in my life, are they going to constantly tell me it's a bad idea and say, oh, you should go work for the government, or you should go work for Microsoft or Oracle or whatever, or are they going to support you? Who are the mentors that you have available to you? How can you get some of that expertise from an incubator or from America House or somewhere else? I'm going to grab something. I was looking at this paper today, the TF Post. And I noticed that there was an article about Stanford University is offering 3 fellowships to business ideas in Ukraine. And, you know, looking for these kinds of things. I'm just using this as an example because I happen to come across it, right? So knowing where can I get support? I don't have to be alone trying to figure it out all by myself. Okay, this is like, for some people, the really boring part they hate, and it's like super, super, super important. As a former banker, I'll tell you, if you don't know the numbers, you don't know how you're going to make money, you don't know how people are going to pay you, just don't start, right? Just keep figuring that part out. Every month, I hear pitches from women, and oftentimes when we ask the business model questions or the financial questions, I get the answer, well, that's what my CFO does or my accountant does. No, right? If you don't know the numbers, you don't know anything. And if you don't feel confident in knowing the numbers yet, then first go and take a class or work with somebody to figure that part out. So, to figure out the business model, and by the way, I'm going to step back to say at the lunch that I was at today, I heard from some of the large companies here in Ukraine that said they feel like the companies that they have in their incubators or that they talk to, this business model part is where they see the biggest weakness, right? That people don't really understand this part of their businesses. And that's not something that's just relevant to the Ukraine. It's the same really all over the world. So, what's the market that you want? And how much of that market do you need in order to be profitable, right? Is it 1 million customers and you need 100,000 of them? Or is it 1 million customers and you need 900,000 of them to be profitable, right? It's a big difference. And are these people expanding or shrinking? You know, it's a product for old people and there's more old people, or it's a product for young people and there's more young people. It's a product for whatever, you know, you've got to be thinking about that. All right. We used to think in business, when I, was a banker and a long time ago, and this is a long time ago, that we made something and we finished making it and then we showed it to the market, right? And we learned that this was wrong, that this is not the way it works in the startup world, and we're new in the new economy that we live in today and with technology. We've learned that we need to test a product in the lowest possible form of that product and see what people think about it and get their input and fix it a little bit, try it again, fix it a little bit, try it again, right? It's called the minimum viable product. We have to know, should we have it? Do you know chat products, like where you can, like WhatsApp or Messenger, but companies use chat products too, like Slack? Are you familiar with that? So, there are companies who thought, well, these products are not very secure, right? So they decided they're going to have a more secure chat. And they spent a lot of money to create a more secure chat. And then when they went to the marketplace, because they were technology guys and really smart, and they were cryptographers, experts in security, when they went to the market, nobody cared. They're like, that's nice, but I like HipChat, or I like Slack, or I like whatever. I'm not going to switch. So if they had just started a little bit first, they might have known what people wanted. Make sense? Am I making any sense? Okay. How are you going to make money? What's the revenue opportunity that you have? I talked about this a lot. How long will it take you, and where are you going to get the customers? I recently was talking to a company who kept going to conferences and trade shows because that's where their potential customers were. And they would go there and have, meet with potential clients. And each of these conferences or trade shows cost a lot of money to go to. So they're telling me about this, and I said, how many customers have you gotten from the trade show and conference? And they said, look at all these business cards. We've met all these amazing people from, yeah, got it. How many customers did you get from the trade show? Well, we're in communication with these customers, blah, 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 blah. Got it. How much money have you spent on trade shows? This much money. Okay, how many customers do you have? None. Why do you keep going to trade shows? Right? And by the time you acquire the one customer for the trade show, you're way in the hole financially. And it seems really obvious, but sometimes we don't just step back and look at that. The customers don't just come when we open the shop or we, create the app. They don't just come flooding all of a sudden, right? Once in a while that happens, but we have to bring them to us. And what will we do to do that? How are you going to get them? Okay, risks. I always ask this question. What do people who don't love you, so your wife doesn't count, your mama doesn't count, your girlfriend doesn't count, your boyfriend doesn't count, people who don't love you and know this space, what do they say? It doesn't mean if they say no, they're right. Just what do they say? And I think one of the hardest things is to know whether when people keep telling you you're crazy, whether you are crazy or whether they're wrong, right? It's super hard to know that. I always think about the woman who created Spanx, which is, a product line for women. She spent, she was rejected over and over and over and over again. People kept telling her it was the dumbest idea ever. And now she has a multi-billion-dollar company. I don't know what makes somebody know whether they should keep trying and everybody else is wrong and they're right. But I think it's important to listen to that and to discern what are the people criticizing about you and what do you think about that. It's also good to know what will not make this idea work and what kinds of risks do you have. A couple of women came recently to talk to me, and they had quit their jobs to start a company that needed some regulatory approval. And they had already run out of money. And I said, they didn't have the approval. And I said, well, how could this possibly happen? You quit your jobs and you've already run out of money and you don't have the approval yet. And they said, well, it takes 6 months to get the regulatory approval. And we didn't know that, right? There's some risks we can identify and some we can't. But the things we should know about them before we quit our jobs, right? The obvious things, at least we could figure that part out. So the point I'm trying to make with all these questions is ask the questions, take your time, think about it, map it out, get people to, poke at your idea and see, and then go ahead. Test these assumptions that you have. Do people care? Do they really want this? Are they willing to pay for it? Let me give you one more idea, one more example, because I think the examples help. A couple of entrepreneurs that I know decided that they were going to start a company that charges less money in recruiting fees to find IT talent. Okay? So they were going to, in the United States, it's really expensive. You pay recruiters about 25 or 35% of someone's salary to get them to recruit for you. So they said, we're going to undercut the market. We're going to charge only 10, like a flat fee, and it's going to be not very, not too expensive. And they thought they were going to get a ton of business from companies for that. But what happened was Nobody cared about the fees. The assumptions the entrepreneurs made was that companies cared how much they were spending. What the companies cared about was, can you get me talent and can you get it fast? And so their model didn't work. But if the good thing for these two entrepreneurs was they tested it in a very small way with just one recruiter, and they realized, it was not a good idea, so now what are we gonna do? Funding, the big one, right? It's never enough funding, and sometimes there's too much funding. Sometimes there's too much money being poured at a business and the business can't grow fast enough for it. So it's figuring out, how much cash do I need? Where am I getting this money? Do I know anybody who has this money? Right, it's kind of a key question. And it's thinking about multiple things. Do I start small and bootstrap? Do I bring in a partner? Do I find an angel investor? And we always talk about smart money, right? Who can give you money but also give you expertise and ideas? Sometimes you have to give away almost all your company to get money. And sometimes that's a good thing. You know, an example that comes to mind for me is a company that was 7 people. They had, like, every year they made about $100,000 in profits, and they were just always staying that way. And then an acquirer came and said, I want to buy your 98% of your company. You'll have 2% for this price. And we think we can really grow this business. And the entrepreneur, the founder, sold. So he went from having 100% to 2%. And in a couple of years, the company was sold for $70 million. So his 2% was worth way more than his 100%. But sometimes you give away your company and then, they take it all away from you and you have nothing, right? So this is the part of mentorship and knowing other people and thinking about risk and being connected, which is going to be our session a little bit later, having the right networks to get this funding. Today, earlier, some of the entrepreneurs I talked to were talking about some of the difficulties related to funding, and that's the case here, and that's the case in many places I know. What's the long-term earning potential of that business? Okay, timing. Is the time right for this idea, right? Is the market ready for it? Is the demand so pent up that people really want this product or this service? Or are you too early to market or too late to market? It's an interesting thing to think about. If you don't know whether the timing is right, it's back to the minimum viable product. You just test it a little bit and see what kind of a response you get. It's back to the same questions about, is it the customers? Are they ready? Is the environment? Is this timing? Do you know something that's happening that causes the need for this product and you're anticipating that? Here's the answer according to Bill Gross, who's the founder of Idea Lab and has funded hundreds of companies, for what matters most. It was timing. If you're at the right time, you will have a huge opportunity. And then it's those of you who said team and execution, you can kind of figure out, you have an idea, but you keep changing the idea based on the customers. And then, that idea is coming to play, and then, of course, the financial piece of it. But if it's like your wrong timing, it's kind of really hard to get traction. Make sense?
Makes sense, yes. I think Bill was talking about, about innovation. Right?
Yeah,
Is that right?
yeah, innovation.
I mean, when we're talking about the business in general, say, coffee shops or whatever, I think that execution might be the...
Yep, I would agree with you. I would totally agree with you. Execution and competition, right? Market demand. Is there a need for another coffee shop, right? Which there might be, but there might not be. Yep, I agree with you. So I believe that there's nobody interesting enough to just listen to them talking. So I think 45 minutes of talking is like plenty of talking, right? I'm more interested in hearing from you, and I know you have a lot to learn from each other. So what I'd like to do is to open the conversation, and if you'd like to connect with me, this is where you can find me. And we have plenty of time. If you need to leave, please, feel free. I understand. But I think that where the learning comes is from all of you to each other, and I'll try to answer your questions the best I can. If I don't know the answer, I'll just tell you that, or I'll make something up. But, okay? All right. I'm ready for your questions. Yeah.
Здравствуйте, Аня. Меня зовут Станислав. У меня к вам вопрос. Как касательно нечестной конкуренции, как вы к ней относитесь на рынке вообще СМИ, возьмем? Если вот открывать компанию СМИ, там интернет, издания, информационное агентство, есть многие возможности там нечестной конкуренции, например, забирать материалы, там какие-то кляузы делать на другие издания. Что вы по этому поводу думаете? Спасибо.
When you're asking me about unfair competition, do you mean, sorry, can you just leave the mic with him for one more second? Do you mean like corrupt competition, or do you mean people, like what you said, they just like take things from elsewhere?
Нет, не конкуренция. Плагиат там и прочие нечестные, там, можно сказать, отжатие там, бизнеса, можно так сказать. Коррупция она везде есть, поэтому определенных, просто это такая болючая тема, поэтому лучше.
Yeah. So, I don't know if this is the answer that you're looking for, but this is how I think about it. I think we can believe that the opportunities are scarce. There's only a limited number of opportunities. Or we can believe that there is enough opportunities. Okay? And I try to operate from the place where I believe there's enough opportunities. And I just don't think about those people and what they do. And I just try to do what I do the best I can with integrity and serve the market that I'm choosing, and let them do whatever they want to do, and believe that over time people will do business with me because you're doing it the right way and that you're known for a certain reputation. I don't know how else to stop other people from doing those things. Yeah? What else? Yeah? Sorry.
What do you think, what is the best way to build the team? Trying to help HR agency or something else?
Okay. I'm going to ask, I have an opinion, but what do you guys think? What's the best way to build a big team? What do you think?
I think mentorship. You mentor young
Other people?
and then if you like them, you take them. You see how it's a good fit.
Okay. What other ideas?
Also friends who could support you.
Okay.
To give the right motivation.
Okay. So, I think about a few things. Is what the skills I need, are they very plentiful in the market? You know, there's a lot of people with this talent. If there's a lot of people with this talent, I would seek it myself, and I might devise a way to test people. I think this is something we don't do very often. Last night, we were talking with a businesswoman here in town, and she was talking about something that she needed done that her staff never did correctly. And so we gave her the suggestion that, why don't you give this task before you interview people and say, do this task. If they can do it, then interview them. If they can't, they don't. So I think about, are the skills plentiful in the marketplace, and do I know people that can connect me to them? Or is the talent very scarce and I need the help of an expert like HR or recruiter to find those people for me? So that's the decision making I make. And then, in my opinion, I always think about diversity. I don't mean diversity of gender, but I think, okay, I'm old, I need young. I'm a woman, I should be working with people, a man who brings a male perspective. I'm more financial or whatever, I need somebody who needs marketing. So I know that the most successful teams are diverse. So these are the factors. I don't try to just find people like me because I know I'm going to fail that way. Thank you.
Скажите,
You're going to just keep the mic, right? Okay.
Да. Лучше набирать команду профессионалов или уже все?
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Как думаете, лучше набирать вот команду профессионалов в компанию или же все-таки набирать новичков и их уже обучать по своим, можно сказать, стандартам, свое видение им давать? Как лучше?
What do you guys think?
It depends on the company. For example, you can choose people who can start from the very beginning. Thank you. I think it depends on the company you choose to work in, or the staff of the company. For example, you can take a student and teach him or her how to work, what are the main goals of what's the mission of the company you work in. Or sometimes I know that big companies take very great people, who are professionals in their area, and they start re-educate them from the very beginning. As far as I know, the same system is in Japan. They take good people, they take professionals, but they say that it's better for them if a new person will do the things they need in the company.
So, sorry, do you want to answer that question?
I want to add to the guy question later.
Okay. No, you go.
No, I just want to build up this question about about an unfair competition question.
Okay, let me go back, finish the question then. Okay, so the way I think about that question is, am I a good trainer and developer of people? And do I have time to develop people? if I'm a good trainer of people and I have time to develop, or somebody on my team is a good trainer or developer of people, then I will hire more inexperienced people. How much money do I have to pay is the second question. And based on these two questions and how hard is it, I would make that decision about whether I'm going to bring on somebody with no experience or not. And then I would go back again to the diversity. Okay, so I have some experience, some inexperience, and I'll work it that way.
Okay, so I just want to build on this question of unfair competition. And basically what I want to say that is really topical for the US right now also, because it's about competing in the fake news environment. What is the best strategy to compete in this sort of unfair fake news environment? Maybe you have some suggestions to us. Like in the US now, you have a lot of fake news, it's a topical issue.
Yeah.
For the media, because the guy was asking about media.
Right. I think it's back to what I'm saying. It's like in a way I can't worry about that. I can't compete with that. I can just compete by doing, ethical, good, fabulous work that people are going to know that I stand by that reputation. And, the prayer, God give me the strength to change what I can change and to accept the things I can't and to know the difference, right? You have this prayer. For me, it's like that.
Yeah, we all know that time will tell. So the time the truth comes out.
Yeah.
Correct. But sometimes you need to have the best strategy. The truth comes the shortest way.
And so what would you do?
I just asked the question.
No, but you probably have an idea. So what do you think?
Actually, let me think about it.
Okay.
I may answer later, okay? Just
Yeah.
give me-
Okay. Do you have an idea about it? No? Okay.
What do you think about partnership? We talk about team, but if we talk about joint venture, for example, what do you think about it?
It's always, again, about what do these people bring to the equation, right? Do they really have what, the other part of what I need? And if I evaluate that joint venture to say 2 + 2 is more than 4, and I like these people, right? I like these people. That's really important. You don't like them, I don't care what they're bringing, right? Forget about it. But you like them, you think they bring something you don't have. They open the door, they can bring you more customers, they can give you not just money. Sure, I think it's a great idea. But I believe sometimes we get seduced by, somebody comes to the table, let's make a partnership, it's going to be great, and we don't think through all the risks.
Yeah, thank you. And another question, what do you think, you have just said about investitions, what do you think, it's good to make straight investitions or diversify your portfolios of money?
Oh, as an investor?
Yeah.
Me as an investor?
Yeah.
I know for sure that I have to diversify my portfolio and to invest in, a broad array of companies. Angel investing is extremely risky. I have had some of the companies I invested in, are gone. I had one company do a public offering, so that was really nice. So I know that over time, I'm not Warren Buffett, right? I don't know how to pick them. So I have to just, pick as have the broad portfolio.
Yes, thank you.
What else? Please.
Can you please advise on some source of information for people who want to start business in a developing country as Ukraine? Which projects may have success? Probably there are some calculations done already. Which product may be sold well in Ukraine or abroad? As far as I understand, we have lots of things in Ukraine now, and it's really difficult to find something new, something successful, something extraordinary, or let's say not typical, something unique. So probably you have some ideas, and maybe you can share with us where we can look for it, and people who really want to try to risk may use this source. Thank you.
I would imagine that the answer to this question exists much more in this room. You all know this market much better than I do. So I will say a few things, but please add to the conversation. From what I see for Ukraine is 3 areas of potentially growth, that I see from my limited view: agriculture, technology, energy. And in those sectors, I think that timing, there are opportunities, like in this moment of time, to disrupt or really be innovative in those sectors. But it depends on whether you know anything about that and can capitalize on it and have partners and experts in those spaces, right? I'm going to say one more thing to the women in the room. We know that women who work in primarily traditionally male fields make 3 times more money and are 3 times as likely to be successful. So if you're a woman looking for a business idea, try to think of not traditionally women-oriented businesses. Try to think of businesses that traditionally are male-oriented businesses. Okay? But so those are the sectors of growth for Ukraine and where there's a lot of opportunity. What else do you see when you look, those of you in the room? Anyone? Where do you think is opportunities?
It's more a question about how to find an idea. Maybe. That's sometimes a key point. I want to do something, but I don't know what. So first of all, it's your inner network with whom you are playing every day. In that case, you can share your will to do something and find out maybe there is problems that are not solved. So maybe that's the idea, to build a business by problem solving. That's first point. Second point, it's not need to have, you mentioned yourself, to have the idea like Steve Jobs. It's just to find out on the street. You were mentioning coffee shop. It can be 5, 10, 15 coffee shop in the street. But are they serving their client correctly? Go through that, and you can have an idea here.
So I'm going to build on that thought. So that was a really powerful contribution. Thank you. So Jeff Hoffman he's the founder of Priceline. He came up with something to get ideas. So one way to get ideas, and I think it's a powerful way, is to talk to people, to walk around the street, to see where it's going, to come to events like this, to, keep expanding. But if, for example, you don't have a lot of that, let's say that, what can you do? So he came up with this thing. Every single day, you get something and you read something that has nothing to do with what you do, okay? So for example, if you studied accounting, you're going to read about Chinese. And tomorrow you're going to read about fashion. And the next day you're going to read about financial models. And the following day you're going to read about weather. Okay? You understand what I say. It's completely different. Every day, something. And when you finish reading that thing, you think about, what thought am I left with? What from all of this spoke to me, or I remember, or I understand? Sometimes when I do this, I read the whole thing, I don't understand, but one line. Okay, what did I understand? What did I like? What stayed with me? And you highlight, circle on your iPhone, whatever, you write it on a piece of paper or post-it note or something, whatever it was, okay? And then you put it on a wall. Just stick it. And tomorrow and tomorrow and tomorrow. And by 1 month or 2 months, all of a sudden, something will be there that is your idea. Because your idea is here and outside, and you're actually thinking about it, you just can't get to it. And you will see in all of this, like the puzzle will come together and be, aha, this is what I have been thinking about. So it's another way. Some people like to talk, some people like to read, so. Okay, what else? Yeah?
So,
you have the answer.
Yeah, I need to answer your question.
Thank you.
It's about the fake news environment and combating this. I give it a thought, and I thought probably the best strategy is the Trump strategy. So I would do twofold. Firstly, I would probably appeal to the broader public by any means available to me. It means Twitter, Facebook, whatever it is. And break the rules, break the established rules, maybe the second. This is the twofold strategy.
Good input.
How about you?
I think that's good input. Yeah.
I mean, Trump is correct in my view. But I know a lot of Americans disagree, but a lot of people agree also. The silent majority agrees. Yes. Okay?
Yeah. All right. What else? Yes, please.
Не для кого не
Oh, sorry.
да.
Yeah, 1 second.
Не для кого не секрет, що 80% починаючих підприємців вони обанкрочуються. А от ви нема у вас досліджень між
I'm not getting
жінками?
it in English.
So the secret that
80% починаючих підприємців обанкрочуються. Це саме така статистика. Саме мало 80% починаючих підприємців це банкрути потенційні. Статистика, річу прямо. А це у вас немає між жінками і чоловіками, яка там не ведете ви таку статистику, звичайно.
Який відсоток жінок буде банкрутом, який відсоток чоловіків? Ні, я допомагала.
What did she say?
Я хотіла сказати, що він запитує, який відсоток банкрутів між чоловіками, а який відсоток банкрутів між жінками. Є у вас така статистика? Чи ні?
Yeah, I don't know the statistics. I don't think that I know of, we don't track that way. I mean, maybe they exist. I don't know what they are. What I do know is that businesses that have both men and women on their teams in leadership at the top are the most successful businesses. All the way up to the largest companies in the world, all the way down to startups. That when we have gender diversity, we increase our chances of success because we think about things and look at things from multiple perspectives. But I'm going to try to find the answer to your question, and if I do, I'll send it back to America House, and maybe they can. It's an interesting thing to know about. Yeah. May I have a microphone?
Can you hear me? I would like to continue the topic about the team because I consider it to be immensely important. But my question is, how do I select people? I mean, there are lots of entrepreneurs, young people who are motivated, have some ideas, but I can't really find out if he's the right person and if he's in the right place in my team. I mean, how can you give some hints how to develop this?
So what do you do today?
I'm here.
Yeah, no, but
typically,
typically, how do you try to evaluate your
a team member?
Yeah.
First of all, I try to look under the hood. I mean, try to evaluate what are person values. Is he motivated? How? What motivates him? And what is his not stake, but why does why do he want to do such business? I mean, greed or money, or you want to change the world or something like that. And I guess that's the first point, and then during the conversation I ask some questions and get some answers in this way.
So you're doing, you've got most of it. So first of all, congratulations to you because you're doing a lot of the right things. I would add a couple of things to that process, and I alluded to it earlier, and I don't think we do enough of it. So if somebody wants a job with me, I'm going to give them an assignment or a task that I think it is the kind of task that they're going to have to do when they're working for me or with me, and I want to see how they do it. Sometimes I think we get fooled by people who speak very well and they're dressed very nice. Yeah, and we miss sometimes the really brilliant introverts who don't know how to talk very well or sell themselves. So I give them an assignment. I also ask them for ideas related to this business. And if I think they're not going to tell me their ideas because they're going to hoard their ideas, then we don't have any trust. So probably I'm just going to pass on that person. I'm also going to try to figure out, do I know anyone who knows this person who can be a character reference or tell me something about this person's, work ethic. So it would be another part of my process.
Thank you.
I'm so happy because a woman is going to ask the question. I've been waiting for that, so thank you.
You're welcome. Okay. I wanted to ask, what do you think about making business in creative industry? Because if we talk about regular businesses that are connected with physical needs, I think we all more or less can predict whether people need this or not. But in creative industries, for instance, like promotion of artists or something like that, it is totally the success of those works totally depend on the opinion of just several people, and we cannot predict that opinion. So are there some ways that we can make risks lower in this industry?
It's a great question. You're right. It's extremely hard. I would think about a few things. One, am I really tapped into what people like in the creative process? Do I know those potential customers and their reading patterns and their art patterns or their music patterns or whatever the creative idea is? Am I running around with those people and seeing what do they talk about? What do they do? What are they interested in? that's one part of it, right? The second part of it is, do I know some influential people who I can get to endorse what I do, that everybody wants to wear the whatever or go see the art that so-and-so said is great? You know, am I connected and mentoring with those people, and how do I engage them in you know, supporting what I'm doing? I think those would be the two things. The third might be, is there something going on outside of the Ukraine that is taking off, that I think maybe it's going to eventually be adopted here, and I'm gonna like anticipate that and bring it faster, could be, you know, another idea. You remind me of one of the movies that right now is getting the most Oscar nominations in the US is La La Land. And it's kind of a very, you know, unusual movie for this era. And that man, he wanted to make that movie for 10 years. And everywhere he went, people said, "You're stupid. This is ridiculous. We're not going to make this movie." And then he made a movie called Whiplash, and it was very successful.
I really like it.
Me too. And all of a sudden, he became not stupid, but a genius, right? So then everybody wanted to make La La Land. So I think sometimes people just are not ready for us quite yet.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Yeah. У нас є
Oh, sorry.
Thank you. У нас є запитання від нашого глядача, який дивиться нас онлайн, від Алекса. Питання. Розкажіть більше про India Agreement і як краще його скласти на перших стадіях компанії. Поки що немає справжнього патенту.
Yeah, it's a challenging question, right? You're going to disclose your idea, and you don't have protection rights yet. I believe, for me, the only way to do that is to identify people that you are trustworthy with that information, right? You're gonna try to look reputationally for people who in the past have heard about people's ideas and not stolen them, and try to work with those people. Secondarily, if you don't know those people, you can't find them, at some point you're going to have to take the risk to proceed in some way, at least with the minimum viable product, maybe a part of it, to see if it can, you know, work, and then continue from there as you're filing your patents. Anyone else? Yeah?
The question would be to you as an investor. It is kind of short. How to pitch successfully? I mean, people read books, somebody or something, but what are you looking for in your in pitches as an investor? The idea, team, or maybe business model? What is the most important for you as an investor?
So I think I'm going to make a difference between pitching to an investor and pitching your idea because you want to grow the idea, right? The investor sometimes has a goal that actually is not helpful to the entrepreneur. The investor just cares, are you going to pay me? Can I make a lot of money? My angel investor group, we want to make money, but we also want those entrepreneurs to succeed. So our group is a little bit different. But sometimes the investors just push you in a bad way, so look for that. But investors want to know, have you identified a market opportunity that is significant enough, right? Do you have an idea that, can you demonstrate to me that people want this product, service, idea, and are willing to pay for it? If it doesn't work, are you smart enough as a team to pivot? And how am I getting my money? Yeah, it's the last. And I don't know if this was part of your question, but I'll just add to it. I feel like there's become a formula for pitching, 15 slides that make the perfect pitch, do it this, do that, blah, 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 da, 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 say this, like TED Talks, they're all the same, right? Blah, 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 blah. I think you should pitch that works for you and works for your business idea. So wouldn't it be cool in a pitch competition and everybody's standing with their nice slides and you come and you sit down, or you just throw a bunch of things on the floor and show people something or do something, that makes people think, I remember that guy. Everybody else stood and they sat, or they brought a bunch of things or gave us something or did something. And maybe you're not going to win the pitch competition, but who cares? Because whatever, there's a million pitch competitions, but maybe those people in the audience, somebody's going to say, you're a smart, creative gal, I'm going to do business with you, come here with me, right? So I think there is a formula and things you should hit, but I also say use your strengths and style to pitch in the way that plays to those strengths. Yeah?
На практиці, ви як займаєтеся бізнесом в США, таке питання. У вас є ідея, у вас є ідея, у вас є команда, у вас є бюджет. Ви починаєте осуществляти вже свій проект. І таке питання, в більшості случаїв виходить, що вилазять подводні камні, бюджет виростає в рази. Чи така сама ситуація у вас там? Чи бували у вас такі щасливі моменти, коли це влажувалися в цей,
Yes. The budget, it's like, yeah, I mean, the budget, it's like you can do your best to try to figure it out, but until you actually start doing it and seeing, it's kind of hard to really project. What I like to do and see in budgets is to stress the budget. Do you know what I mean when I say stress the budget? So if I have a budget and I think people are going to pay 99 cents for my app, and I think I'm going to have 100,000 people, I say, well, what if they only are willing to pay 50 cents, and I only get 50,000. What if I can only get 10,000 in the first month? I keep putting the variables in the budget in different ways, stressing it. Like, what if this doesn't happen, and this doesn't happen, and this doesn't happen? What is the outcome? So that I can get a better financial picture. I don't know if I've answered your question. Yeah, I agree with,
50-50.
yeah, I agree with you. The budgets, it's hard to know up front. Okay. I believe that the future of the world comes from countries like Ukraine. I think it's the time of developing and emerging countries like yours. That's why I do the work that I do and work in the countries that I work in. As I travel to Africa and Asia and the Middle East and Latin America and see people like you, I know that the days of superpowers is over, right? It's the rise of the rest of the world where innovation and new ideas and growth come. I know it's a particularly hard time in this country in many ways, as it is in many of the countries that I work in. But when I see your faces, I know that I'm going to read about you and your businesses, and that the future growth that will come in this country is going to come from people like you. I know I don't understand how hard it is. I realize that, even though I do a lot of work in places like this. I also know that you are very resourceful and resilient, and that you find ways and you persevere with those ideas. So I wish for you huge success, whatever that success looks like for you. It doesn't have to be a big, huge company. It can be a very small company, but it's whatever you see for yourself. And thank you for spending some time with me. We're going to talk later on about building your network, so if you're staying for that, I'll see you again. If not, best wishes to you. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah. Oh, that's why you asked the question. Yeah. No, you're doing great.